It's January 10th, 2011, and I want to welcome you to the first web blog for LGBT Today. It's been a rather tumultuous week with the shooting of Congresswoman Gabrielle Gifford from Arizona, and I wanted to open with talking about that because that was a very, very horrendous affair, and it's brought up a lot of very hard issues within the gay and lesbian community. I've been typing on Facebook and we've been discussing this, and I've been talking with a good friend of mine, Scott Hall, about it, who is something of a reactionary, and while I can see his side of it and he can see mine, the point of the situation is that some people feel that because of violence out there and hate crimes, that a lot of gays and lesbians can or should arm themselves. And I'm not sure that that's going to be the answer to the situation. I mean, after all, particularly in the South, and I do live in Florida, which is probably one of the most horrendous states toward gay and lesbian policies. Suppose in this particular instance that we're talking about a situation where you have a single gay man and an attacker. The gay man's armed, so is the attacker. And the gay man pulls out his pistol and he shoots the attacker who's pulled out his pistol. Well, if the attacker dies, what do you think the police are going to do? The state attorney is going to file murder charges against the gay man. Now, what's going to happen in the end is that in a place like Florida or Texas, they're going to execute the gay man anyway. So the gay man's going to wind up dying and nothing's going to be accomplished. So I don't really think that we're going to accomplish very much by simply arming ourselves. I think we're going to turn ourselves into a militia. And last week I published a essay called Removing Your Balls from Your Pants, Figuratively Speaking. And I think a lot, and I want to thank everyone because that did get a lot of response on the net. More response than any article we published to date by anyone. And I want to thank everyone because that was most unexpected, and I was very pleased with the overall reaction by the community. A lot of people, I think, may have misinterpreted my remarks in that to be reactionary. I was not trying to be reactionary in that piece. I'm not saying that we should go out, arm ourselves, and go attack the police. That was not my intention at all. My intention was to say that sometimes when we're pushed, we have to push back. And I don't mean that we should start going out and attacking police officers or go attack public officials. I'm saying that, you know, sometimes it was necessary during the civil rights marches of the 1960s to pick up a tear gas can and throw it back at the police. Things like that were commonplace, and those are the sorts of things that we need to do. Passive resistance is always a good thing because it shows that we stood up for what we wanted. And I understand that nowadays they use different methods that are very hard to overcome. Things like this new microwave, crowd control thing that they fire at the crowd, and it suddenly makes everybody feel sick to their stomachs or pushes them back. I'm sure that given a little time that people can come up with ways to counteract that. And I'm sure that they will. Possibly stainless steel shields or something like that will reflect it back at the police, and that would be something that would be quite enjoyable to see. However, until such a time as we could come up with new methods and new ways to come up with ways to combat the police resistance, and show them that we're serious. I think what I was trying to get across first and foremost in that piece is that the LGBT community just has a overwhelming amount of apathy. And that really, it makes me sad. It makes me almost want to cry that so many people in the LGBT community just sit there and they do nothing. They have a million excuses why they can't do anything. Work, whatever, okay? The way I feel about the situation is you can't afford not to do anything anymore, because the forces out there are pushing against us so hard right now that we can't afford not to react to what's going on. And I think people like Lieutenant Dan Choi, who, you know, he and others chained themselves to the front gate of the White House, even though they knew that they could be arrested on terrorism charges. And the president, rightfully so, realized what they were doing. He didn't press terrorism charges against them. He knew and he understood what they were doing. And he pushed forward with trying to get Don't Ask, Don't Tell repealed. Now, for that reason, those sorts of actions work. And once we make our message clear, then we can begin to move forward. But what we need to do is stop piecemealing things. We need to stop pushing Proposition 8 in just California, or Amendment 2 in Florida, or, you know, whatever we're trying to repeal. These things don't work, okay? Because as soon as we get gay marriage in, you know, some state, then the religious right comes forward, and the next thing you know, here comes the religious right, and they're going to repeal it from us. Okay, they're going to take it away from us as soon as we get it. They've done this in D.C. They tried to take it away from the gays as soon as they got it passed. New York is coming up to this. They're about to pass gay marriage, and I'm sure that the religious right is going to come swooping in there and try to take it right away from them. We can't do this one state at a time anymore, and we can't do it on just one issue. It has to be done on an entire basis of a civil rights issue. We have to either do one of two things. We either have to put it into an amendment to the 1964 civil rights issue and amend the 1964 civil rights issue, or we have to write a new Civil Rights Act to amend the Constitution to make all of the LGBT community, and when I say all of it, I mean all of it. Don't drop the transgenders just because it's an inconvenient issue at this time, and because some people in Congress won't support it just because they don't like transgender people. I mean, everybody has to be included in this. All or nobody. We have to make sure that everybody's included, or forget it. Okay, it's just not worth it. And all the organizations, the NGLTF, HRC, National Center for Transgender Equality, everybody has to stand behind this. And right now, all that's happening as far as the National Gay and Lesbian Task Force, the Human Rights Council, the National Center for Transgender Equality, everybody's sitting on hot button issues. What's the hot button issue of the week in the media? They take a look at it, and the next thing you know, that's what they're putting out a press release on. And that isn't going to work. They have to have a set of priorities, which is what I put into that essay. And I put out a set of priorities hoping that more people would see it, they would seize on those issues, and that would be what everyone starts working on. Now, I don't pretend to be a leader in the community, but for lack of anyone else taking the reins, somebody has to do something. So I'm hoping that if you don't like my goals, set your own, and somebody do it so that we can have these set of issues and we can follow some set of issues that say we have to start with 1, then go to 2, then go to 3, 4, 5, and however many issues that people say they are, but we stick to those steps and don't go 1, then 7, then back to 2. We have to follow them in order and realize that this is what we need to do. But back to the gun rights thing for a moment. Do guns really make us safer? I don't think they do, really. And I don't want to own a gun myself for a variety of reasons. Number one, violence has happened to me in the past, personally in my life. And some of it was at the hands of the police. And because of that reason, I don't want to be tempted to ignite my hatred for the police in a situation where I'd want to pull my gun out and use it in order to not inflict harm on the police, but to cause them to inflict harm on me, because they caused me to have pain inflicted on me for being a member of the LGBT community. And I wouldn't want myself to go through that again. So rather than go through that again, I would rather flash a gun and have them shoot me rather than be put back into that. And that's in my head. That's a conditioning that they put me into. And there may be other people out there who feel the same way I do. So I think that if I were carrying a gun, I think that I would be prone to do one of two things. I would either want to pull it out and let them shoot me, or I'd pull it out and I'd shoot myself. And I don't really think that I'd want to do that. I mean, I don't want to be tempted to do that. And I think a passive situation in that circumstance may cause me to react differently if I knew I didn't have one. The other thing is that when we get back to the story of two people, a straight person and a gay person in a conflict situation, yes, it's a bad situation when you have a hate crime. I'm fully aware that there are a lot of people out there who feel that they want to protect themselves. And perhaps if Matthew Shepard had a gun, he'd still be alive today. But chances are, under Wyoming law, if he'd have shot those two guys, he would have been put to death for it. That's just the way it would have been, because I could hear the prosecutor now saying, Matthew Shepard, he solicited those two guys for sex, and the next thing you know, he killed them when they resisted. That would have been the way it would have gone. I'm sure of it. And I'm sure that if more gay people start defending themselves in hate crimes, that's exactly what's going to happen, and we're going to start being known as the Pink Menace. You know, defending ourselves is a one-way street down the path of public ridicule, and I don't think that that's going to be the answer. I really don't think that we should, you know, outwardly resist in a revolutionary type manner, because if we do that, we're going to be in trouble. I mean, the press is going to tear us apart. We're going to get completely lambasted, and the next thing you know, we're going to lose those rights that we've already gained. We're going to lose the public support that we've already gotten. So let's just cool it on the guns a little bit. And we don't really want to go through the trouble of, you know, getting these people angry at us that we've gained support in the heterosexual community. I don't think that stockpiling guns and going after straight people is the answer. I really don't think, you know, a full-scale revolution's called for at this particular point. So let's just drop that idea for right now. I don't think it's necessary at this point. Not until they start acting like they do in Uganda and Iran, then, you know, maybe we might start thinking about it, but not right now. So at this point, I'm going to stick to my guns, so to speak, and say I think that we should just you know, try to bring public awareness to the hate crime